Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of Intuitive Creator Spotlight. I am Stella, your host, and I'm here to invite amazing guests who are sharing their stories because their stories inspire the world. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Anne Jirsch. She is a professional psychic, author, speaker, and she is the future life progression pioneer with the only training school of FLP in the world. I am super honored to be connected with her. She's also my teacher and my mentor, and I cannot wait for her to share her story with all of us. Hi, Anne. Welcome to this interview.
I'm really happy to be here. You look fabulous. You look really well. This is a great connection.
It sure is. I'm super grateful to be here with you. I think every moment is super magical, and especially when you connect with people who mean so much to you, those magical moments amplify so much more. So I'm super grateful to be here with you. Anne, can you please tell us about a moment in your life when you first realized you have psychic abilities, and how did that realization impact your life?
Well, it's interesting because it was more about not being psychic. So I spent summers with my grandmother, and she was a psychic. She used to read the tea leaves, and I'd stay with her and I'd see people come in. And I was nosy, you get the nosy kid. I was always listening. She'd read the tea leaves for people, and I knew she was really good at it. I knew she was intuitive. So I'd sit there and try and be intuitive as a kid. I used to try and be like me nan. And I never ever got it right, not once, ever, not even by guesswork. I never got it right, but I knew it worked. So once I got into my teens, I realized that I needed to find out how it worked. What is there a process? How does it work? So I went in search of being psychic. It sounds bad, doesn't it? I went in search, and back then the place she went to was India, because that was where the Beatles went. That was where all the mystical teachings were. So I went off to India in my teens to learn to be intuitive. Now, one of the important points is if you do something naturally, you don't know how you do it. If you're a brilliant artist, it's very difficult. You might say to people, put a bit of blue there, make a sweep there. But when you're naturally good at something, you just do it. It's actually quite hard to explain what you do. So the benefit, because I had to go and discover how intuition worked, it meant I could later teach, because I learned a process in order to open up my intuition. So that's how it all started. The first big intuitive thing was in India, and I started to know things, and I met a guru out there. It was the weirdest things. I'm a teenager and I'm doing this mystical journey and going to ashrams and trying to meditate. And I'm still rubbish at meditation. I mean, I'm just the one that fidgets, keeps opening my eye. I'm too fidgety I'm too hyperactive to be able to sort of relax and go into these spaces. And I like being hyperactive. I like that. I don't want to lose that. So I'd try all these things. And then one day I was actually in Calcutta and I'm walking along. I suppose it'd probably be the equivalent of Calcutta High Street. I can't remember the name of the road, but it was near the Howrah Bridge. And there's this guy, this beggar sitting on a mat. And I was just drawn to him. And I started talking to him. And he started teaching me things. It was the most bizarre things. And I'd take him tea, or I'd take him food, and everybody would stop and talk to him. And he really made me think different. And somehow him telling me things opened me up in some way. So as we were traveling back, when we first went into India, we met this guy, and he was really annoying. There was a whole bunch of us traveling, but this guy, when you meet somebody, it just really irritates you. Not a very spiritual thing to say, but he drove me mad, this guy. He never washed. He was just really annoying. And he'd always be hanging around you. I just found him. Anyway, he'd long gone. He had to go back to his country. I won't say where, because I'm going to be working there shortly, so I better not say. But he went, and months later, and he had to be back by a certain time for lots of different reasons. And months later, I was in a completely different country traveling. I went, he's here. And everyone said, no, he went back months ago. I went, no, he's here. I can feel his energy. I can feel his presence. and that they all thought I was mad. Anyway, the next day we bumped into him, but at the point, and at the logical mind said to me, well, maybe he was there in the crowd somewhere and you caught a quick glimpse, but your conscious mind didn't realize. Your unconscious mind can sometimes see things and pick up on it. But he'd been in the desert the day before. He wasn't in the city where we were. And that was it. I felt him. I felt the irritation. So funny. I felt that annoying, oh God, not him again, feeling. And that was probably one of the earliest things that ever happened. And when I came back, my best friend had me a pack of tarot cards and said, I bought you them. Now, I tried to read cards before and I've got in a right old mess because I'm not very patient. And that one means that when it's next to that, and it's 20 different. And I tried several times. She handed me these cards, we sat there, and I knew what they meant. I just picked them up and they talked to me. And I've done the same thing ever since. The same type of cards as well, all them years.
Yeah, you were ready for that moment. And I
Yeah.
say, when the student is ready, the teacher comes, and for you,
Yeah.
tarot cards just came at the perfect moment. And this is a fascinating story because it's funny, and also it just shows how sometimes you develop all of these things within yourself by being surrounded by people around you, by the world, nature. And if you just decide to tune into everything and everyone around you, then there is so much knowledge, so much wisdom that you can just take, and you take whatever resonates with you, and then you move through life with it. And this is fascinating. And I know that you are, I mean, of course I know, because I've been working with you. I know that you are a pioneer in future life progression, and you've trained so many people in future life progression. Now, I remember a moment in one of your books when you were sharing how you came across future life progression. Would you like to share that moment with everyone who's listening to this video?
Yeah, it was, I mean, I'd built a nice big client base with tarot. Because you keep working at something, you'll build a client base. I mean, that will happen over time. So I had a nice big client base. Lots of people come to me for readings. I love doing it. I was always really, really interested in past life regressions. So I went and trained in past life regression. Well, I didn't train in past life regression. I went and trained in hypnotherapy and wrote scripts because you couldn't find anybody to teach it all them years ago. I had the hardest job to even find a regressionist back then, because you didn't have the internet. You didn't, sounds like dinosaur times or Victorian times, but we didn't have the internet. We didn't have all the things. You didn't have spiritual books in your local bookstore. So it was really, really hard. But so I went and trained in clinical hypnotherapy. I thought, at the time, I thought, well, I suppose I ought to have some sort of a certificate. So I carried on readings, doing past life regressions, loved it. I did some clinical hypnotherapy. Did a certain amount, particularly with addictions, which has always been fascination, helping people with addictions. And then one day, some military guys popped in and said, we want past life regression. And one came in and had a session. His mate waited outside. Then the mate come in, and they both had the same lifetime. Now, they had no time to collaborate. They couldn't hear what the other one said, but they both saw themselves Vikings on a ship. A few weeks later, they come back. Next time they saw themselves as Native Americans, and they were forever popping in. And they'd had all these lifetimes together. You'd see one, then the other, and they'd see the lifetimes, sometimes fighting alongside each other, sometimes fighting against each other, but they were always kept coming up with these past lives, which was fascinating. So in the end, they were popping in so much. I taught them how to regress each other. I taught them what to do. And they came to me and said, we've seen you, we've had a past life around you. I went, okay, great. One of them keeps calling me a spiritual mama. These great big guys calling me a spiritual mama. And what I did was I brought in somebody else to take the three of us back to that past life. There was some things that they wanted to find out about the past, and we wanted to find out about that past life. So I've got somebody to come in and take the three of us back. And what happened was, we thought at the time the session had gone horribly wrong, because we didn't go back and find out what they needed to know. We didn't see the past life. what we did, we actually jumped forward 3 weeks and saw the attack on Twin Towers. And it really was confusing because we had no frame of reference for this. Nothing like it had ever happened before. So one of the guys said, I'm seeing these two skyscrapers, there's smoke pouring out, there's people on the ground running, or I see a helicopter going around CNN, this is America. And the other one said, this is weird because I'm not gone back in time either, but I'm looking out over a bay. He said, and all I know is the skylines change. And then he said, how can a skyline change? I'm actually getting goosebumps, telling it, even though I've told this before, it gives me goosebumps. And I just said, well, I don't know where I am. I'm just seeing Middle Eastern oil and pipelines. So we all gave up. We just went, oh, this is not working. Of course, 3 weeks later when it happened, they phoned me, the lads phoned me and just said, put on the news. I'm at the office, put on the news. I put on the news and they're going, this is it. This is what we saw. And it was just so shocking. It was upsetting because we didn't know enough to change it. We didn't have the awareness. Nobody, I don't think anyone would listen to us anyway.
Yeah.
So at first we were just shocked. And then after a little while, we started to experiment and we repeatedly come up with world events, things happening in the world. And that went on for a long time. We kept them. One of the big self-help gurus said, you should document this, write it down and date it. So I did, and he popped in to see me. And I said, well, this is the latest. Hand it to him. A week later, he called me and said, half the things on that list have happened already in the space of a week. And they're not things that would be, you would expect. They're really unusual. And so we carried on with that. Then I started to experiment with clients and take clients forward. And this was a big revelation for me because I'm taking clients forward 5 years. The bit that really got me was they'd see, you know, they're married to, where they're working, or various developments. They would phone me up within months and say it's happened. So we were bringing the best of the future into our current consciousness. We were creating it. Because I'm not patient, that really appealed to me. That really, really appealed to me. I don't want to wait 5 years for this to happen or that to happen. So that was mind-blowing to me. And so I carried on and the whole world opened up. I started to say, well, is there a better alternative? Is there a better future? Is there more? Is there more you could be doing? The very act of seeing the future, you change your present. Because you're not going to go and waste a load of time on this. You're going to go straight for the amazing stuff, but you also bring it forward to the opportunities. So I started to keep looking at my better future, and my whole life changed within 3 months. Like, I'm talking dramatically. I went from my little office in Slough, and I had a great client base, but I went from Slough to global in 3 months. I went to major deals, being offered major deals, to traveling the world, to be, I mean, everything changed. So that's because that happened to me. And then I started to work with my clients and they started to have these massive shifts. I thought that this is what I'm going to do. This is my focus, because I see people working so hard trying to get on. And I've done it myself. I'd had years, decades and decades of working hard, and I'd built a client base, but I was working all hours. I was just paying my bills, you know, and you just think, you know, I can't work like this forever. And to create that massive shift where you really enhance somebody's career, life, well-being, whatever it is, it's just so wonderful. So I knew that because it created the shift in me, then in my clients, I thought, this is what I'm going to do.
What a fantastic choice. And I'm super
Yeah.
thankful for that, because I have learned so much from you. And now I can say from a perspective of somebody who has learned all of these things that you have been teaching us, now I've helped my own clients with those techniques, and I can see so many stories of them succeeding, changing their life, choosing what kind of business they want to create, choosing the house that they want to build, and then within weeks building the house. So there are so many things that are happening, and I absolutely love what you say about, hey, once you see what's the best for you, you just focus and you don't waste your time anymore. And on top of that, when you see what can happen in 5 years' time, you bring that energy in your future, in your present. and then you start working with that energy from the very present moment. And then what happens is things start to happen much, much faster. And I'm super, super in love with this set of tools. So to everyone who's watching us, please check out the description of this video so that you know how to connect with Anne, because she has all of these amazing trainings. She has a lot of different products available on her website, plus other amazing events that she's creating. So it doesn't matter when you're watching this video, just check out her links and see what she's up to. And talking about books, and this was actually the moment that connected me to your work. The very first book that I came across was Cosmic Energy, and it was actually a very funny story. I moved to the UK, so from when we're recording this video, almost 12 years ago. And I was so fascinated. We came here, because my husband had to come here for his job. So I was just looking around. I started learning so much. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the local library and I will just browse through all the books that are there. So I stepped into that library, and that was one of those moments when I asked myself, if I was to choose some keywords and to find a book that has these keywords, what would those words be? So I think in that moment, in a very magical way, I already started to connect with your work without knowing anything about any of your books. So I'm not kidding. These two words came through: cosmic energy. Like,
Wow.
what are the chances? And that was like 12 years ago when I was still trying to learn better English and stuff like that. So this is strange. Like, why cosmic energy? Like, what's this combination of words? And it was like somebody was guiding me towards that computer, and I typed these two words, and your only book came up. And I was
Wow.
like, this can't be. Like, this is crazy. This is really, really crazy what's happening. And I was like, I'm gonna read it. I took that book, took it home. I read it, I think within an hour, or I mean, very quickly, really fast went through it. And I was like, no, I wanna read it again and again and again. And I bought it, and I bought all of your books. And then I was like, okay, this is really, really fascinating stuff, because I think it's amazing to look at how you could shift your reality, because it's always a co-creation with the universe, isn't it? It's not you have to do things. Of course, by destiny, there are some things that are just happen, but a lot of the things in our life, we can look at them and really shift and transform. So talking about books, can you share with us what inspires you usually to write a book? Because you have more than one book. So where is this inspiration coming from? And if you want to share a bit about the process that you have of
Yeah.
writing a book, that would be amazing too.
Yeah, well, my spiritual teacher. So when I came back from India, and I had a catalogue of things to deal with: difficult marriage, health issues, money issues. I had the lot. There weren't I tried to find an affirmation that would cover everything, because every bit of my life was difficult. And I went to see a counsellor, and she was rubbish. And then I saw another one, and they just nod and go, "How are you?" That. And then I met my spiritual teacher, and she kind of almost rebuilt me. And she had so much knowledge, and she received so much knowledge, and she was intuitive. And I just put myself in her hands, whatever she said. And of course, we didn't have the internet back then. And I used to take a notepad and a pen and go, write a book. You got so much knowledge, write a book. She just had so much wisdom. And she didn't. She said, no, 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 you guys will. So it's hilarious, really, that all the people that go to her ended up sort of teaching on her behalf. We all learned from her. So it was amazing. So it's that thing that today we learn the hard way. We struggle, we learn the hard way. Once you've learned something, and it's lovely to say to people, no, 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 you don't have to go through all that crap. You can just do that. Oh, no, 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 you just need to do this. Or you might have a process that will give somebody a big internal shift, and they believe in themselves more. Once you've gone through a certain, and believe me, I learned most things the hard way. You know, I've been around a long time and I learned most things the hard way. So if I can show somebody a quicker, easier process rather than let them struggle for years in the same way, then that to me is pure magic. So that's why I write, because I learn stuff and I just go, oh my God, this really works. I want to tell everybody. So we're living in a time where we can really share. The process, what I do, I find for anybody that writes a book, I would say, don't pick it up and put it down. Don't wait to be inspired, because it will never flow and it will take forever and it will be bits and pieces. I like to be obsessive for months and months and months till it's finished. I will turn down good social events. I teach less. I have to, because otherwise it'll be bits here and there. And if I write a book, you see these adverts, go and write a book in a fortnight. Don't. It's going to be rubbish. Don't. Really put something great together. Really put together something really good. So once I know what I'm going to write about, I collect information. So where's my dictaphone? I always have a dictaphone. Oh, yeah. I've always got a dictaphone nearby. I put notes in my phone. I'll have a notebook. I will collect information and ideas. It might be a case study that pops into my mind, an exercise, whatever it is. I'll be collecting the information for quite a few months. Once I've got that, I structure it into chapters. Then I sit down and plow into it. But what I also do, because I'm not very well educated, that's not some false modesty. I couldn't read and write properly when I left school, but that isn't that uncommon for people of my background. We just didn't get a very good education. And I was talking to somebody I know recently, and we're both saying, don't talk to us about presuppositions. We haven't got a clue what all that malarkey is. We just sit and write. And this is somebody that's written a book herself. So I always find somebody that's very good at writing technically, and I get them to go through the proposal before I hand it into a publisher. I get them to go through it, make sure it's structured. I might well ask them to help me structure it. Before I hand in the manuscript, once I've got the deal, I get them to go through it, and they will spot the comma in the wrong place, or there's a stronger word. And you know, you write a book and it's 50,000 words. That's a lot to run smoothly. So somebody looking at it with a fresh eye will go, well, you rambled on there. I don't quite understand that. And I'm not precious. I listen to what they say. I know some people go, oh, no, they've criticized it. No, I will listen. And I usually find they're right. Don't always agree, but 9 times out of 10, they're right. And so that's my process. I want to hand in something that's really good, because you only get one shot with the publisher. I've really learned, you hand it in with mistakes or anything that's not right, they'll just hand it back. Although they say send it in as it is, don't. I've learned the hard way, don't. Make sure you hand it. So that's my process. I steam in and I become obsessive, and I think it's the only way to write a good book.
This is really inspiring, and I'm sure that many of our beautiful viewers who are watching this video, if they're thinking or dreaming about writing a book, this is really valuable information. Do you have a favorite book among all of your books?
I think for me, The Future Is Yours was the important one, because it launched Future Life Progression, which became my life work. So I think, although I loved Instant Intuition, the first one, I really loved that, because I'm not patient. It's packed with intuition techniques and people do love it. I think The Future Is Yours, that's the book, and it went out, it became #1 in quite a few countries, become an international bestseller. And it brought me so many amazing people. You know, we need our tribe. And most spiritual people I don't connect well with, believe it or not, because they're too woo-woo for me, and I'm not their cup of tea. I'm really not. I'm not into the magic rainbow unicorn stuff. I'm really not. I quite like the science, and I like the business side of things. So, but what it does is it's brought my tribe. So the people that come and train with me, they get me, I get them. We're on the same wavelength. It's like you got FLP as soon as you showed up. You just got it, and you were a natural working with it, you know, doing amazing sessions. You just got it. And that's what it's done. It's brought me this tribe that's global. So wherever I go, I'm meeting up with, while I was in Belfast, I met up with Shirley Palmer, who came and trained with me. She's big in business in her own right. We met and had lunch. But wherever you go in the world, I meet up a couple of months, a few weeks before, I was out in Bordeaux in France with Natalie, who's trained with me, but again, she's big in her own right. So wherever I go, I'm meeting up with, it's made me these incredible connections. And that's beautiful, isn't it? That it brings you that network. So yeah, The Future Is Yours, my first one. The last book is dear to my heart, Future Vision, Your Working Life. And I felt compelled to write that because I know the world of work's going to keep changing. And we need a whole different strategy for dealing with it. And that was really important. It took a lot of work, that book, a huge amount of work, because the landscape of business is going to be constantly changing. And it was before my eyes, but I really felt compelled because I see so many talented people struggling and not getting to where they want to be. And I just really wanted to show them how we can have different strategies it's different from 5-10 years ago.
You just go into the future, take what's best, and then you bring it into the present in your teachings and books. And this is such a gift to absolutely everyone who comes across your work. And I know that your books are international. Do you know how many countries your books are in at the moment?
I think they're in 14 languages.
Okay.
I think they're in about 18 to 20 countries, but definitely I've got downstairs in the downstairs office all the different languages lined up. It's definitely 14 languages. The last language was Turkish. I had 2 books come out in Turkey, but about 18, 20 countries, I believe.
This is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And I know, Anne, that you've had many different clients in all these years, and some of them were celebrities and high-profile clients. How did you manage to adapt your work and your style of teaching or doing readings or guidance to all the different people that are coming from all these different backgrounds?
Yeah, it's interesting. Most people are pretty similar, actually. I mean, they got something they want to find out about or resolve, or they want to progress. Most people, I find country to country, I need to adapt more because different countries process information in different ways. Like you go to some places and they just want the overview, others want every little detail. Some are more a lot of Europe, I find they really overthink everything and wind themselves up, and they just and they don't want to do that. They actually don't want to overthink and wind themselves up. They seem to worry and try to think too much, and they will come to me and say, "Can you ground me? Can you stop?" And of course, we've got techniques to stop them totally being in their head. Other countries only want you to tell them everything in 5 minutes, not do any work, and have magic happen. So adapting to which to me, I love it. I love going places and going, right, my job is to adapt to them, not them adapt to me. So that's yeah, that's fascinating, seeing how different people process. So yeah, not a lot of difference with celebrities. And I mean, I've been taken to a palace. It's amazing. That all changed, as I say, in that 3 months. All of a sudden, I got celebrities calling me up and going, "Guess who's on the phone?" Massive things started to shift very, very quickly. But the celebrity clients, I mean, I still regularly see them go out for lunch or dinner or pop in for coffee, and they have the same worries. They have the same worries we do. They have the same pressures we do. One of the reasons they come to me is not because I'm so brilliant at what I do. It's more because, one, they know everything's safe with me. I've never had a leak. You'd be surprised at how many people leak information. And two, they say that I understand their industry. It's like you have to think quite differently. It's a business, even you're an actor, you're a singer, you're a politician, it's a business in a way. And they always say, you get it, you understand how we have to work or how we have to adapt, that we have to be more careful of who we let into our circle. They always say, I get it. So that's partly it. They trust me. They trust me with their secrets.
What a gift for them is your work, and that's fascinating. And so, I have this question now, and just comes to me, and I really have to ask this question here. I know you work with future life progression, so you help people go into their future, come back. I know you travel a lot into the future, then come back and bring valuable information. Now, when you think about future life progression, what's your vision for future life progression? Like where do you see this going? How do you see this impacting the world in the next decades?
Well, some of the experts, some of the business experts have said that we need to we need to process in a different way. So what we're doing right now is information overload. We're trying to learn everything, read everything, and there's reams and reams of information. The amount of emails we get, we never used to get that when we just had letters through the post and phone calls. So we're bombarded and our brain filters haven't caught up. And some of the experts and scientists have said our brain filters will adapt. We need to filter out the information. But one of the things I really, really feel, and this will be my work from now, is we need to be more visionary. So what I'm going to be doing is teaching people to be more visionary about their future, futures of their companies, the world, everything. We need to be the change we've had in the last 20 years, we're going to get that in the next 3. We're going to get more in the next 3. And people are not aware of how much change. We're so busy in our day-to-day life, we're not noticing how much change is going on. So we need to be not making our decisions from where we are now. We need to be making them from the future and working backwards. So I'm going to be teaching people to be more visionary. And I can see that companies are starting to ask me, big companies are starting to go, look, what do we need to do? One major company, they're one of the biggest coaching companies in the world, and they say, you got the missing piece of the jigsaw. We teach all this coaching stuff, but the bit you do is the missing piece of the jigsaw.
Wow, what a great message to receive from somebody who works in such industry, and they've seen so much as well. So that's really fascinating that they share this message with you. So as we're wrapping up this episode, what message would you like to share with everyone who's watching us? Maybe this is somebody who's watching just as soon, like soon after we recorded, or somebody who's watching in 10 years from now. What would you like to tell to that viewer?
What I would say is there's so much more to you than you're allowing. I work with people and I see this all the time. I know that you're watching this, there's more to you. You're capable of more. You should be bigger. Just don't hold yourself back. Don't worry about what other people think. Don't be worried about anything. Don't worry about the bits you don't know. Just take what you've got and do something great with it. Don't get to 96 years old and wish you had. Just don't waste time. Just really believe in yourself and put some magic out there in the world, and it does start to come back to you. It really, really does come back.
Thank you. I love this message. I so resonate with it, and I'm grateful you shared it with everyone who's watching us. And to you, beautiful soul, if you've watched this episode, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and let us know your thoughts. Also, don't forget to connect with Anne because her work is absolutely fascinating. Thank you for watching, and see you again next time. Goodbye.